حاليا اللي واصله وما شاء الله تكرر سيناريو اللي هو منخفض المطير.
The recent disaster in Saudi Arabia has shaken the country with a series of extreme weather events. The incident began with a flash flood that severely affected the Jazan province. Torrential rains and storms wreaked havoc, impacting not only infrastructure but also the daily lives of residents. Footage broadcast by a local news channel showed two vehicles being swept away by the waters, one of them completely crushed due to a bridge collapse. Eyewitnesses described the scene as chaotic, with a loud rumble when the bridge gave way. The severity of the situation led the National Center for Meteorology to issue a series of warnings, indicating that more heavy rains were expected in the coming days.
سحابة خيالية.
The mountainous regions near Jazan were at high risk of further flooding, and local authorities closed roads and suspended classes to ensure safety. This event comes shortly after similar floods affected the United Arab Emirates and Oman, leading many experts to point to climate change as a key factor.
makkah أمطار خير وبركة العزيزية.
In Jazan province, emergency services remained on high alert, working around the clock to respond to the crisis. Rescue operations were carried out swiftly, evacuating many people to safe areas. The infrastructure suffered considerable damage, and the local government began assessments to determine the extent of the damage. The heavy rains also disrupted daily life, with many businesses closed and power outages in several areas. Meanwhile, in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, a storm accompanied by heavy rain and hail further complicated the situation. The National Center for Meteorology issued a red alert for the area, warning of high-speed winds, low visibility, and possible flash floods. Residents and visitors were urged to stay indoors and follow the safety guidelines issued by Saudi Civil Defense. The bad weather continued to affect other regions of the country, including Najran, Asur, and Al-Baha. There were reports of strong winds, heavy rains, and dust storms, especially in the eastern regions. The situation in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf also became dangerous, with waves reaching up to 2.5 meters high. The disaster has had a significant impact on the local economy, especially in agriculture. Many crops were damaged, which could result in substantial economic losses. Rural areas also experienced flooding, leading to the evacuation of residents and the closure of access roads. The heavy rains and storms continued to cause problems, with some areas experiencing prolonged power outages. The Saudi government has pledged support and assistance to those affected, deploying engineers and construction teams to repair the damaged infrastructure. Rescue and evacuation operations were intensified, with emergency teams working tirelessly to drain standing water and restore essential services. The Civil Defense Steering Committee in Jazan warned the population about the dangers of the rains and recommended avoiding going out unless absolutely necessary. In Mecca, The heavy rains caused flooding even inside the Grand Mosque, a rare and alarming situation. Images shared on social media showed the mosque's courtyard flooded, sparking a mix of astonishment and concern among the faithful. Religious and civil authorities issued clear instructions to ensure the safety of pilgrims and visitors while continuing to monitor the weather closely. Emergency services and local authorities have been working to restore normalcy. However, the situation remains uncertain due to forecasts of more rain and storms. Climate change and erratic weather patterns have been identified as factors exacerbating these extreme events. The Saudi Green Initiative has been highlighted as an effort to mitigate these issues, promoting reforestation and environmental conservation. While storms and floods wreaked havoc in various regions of Saudi Arabia, a critical situation was unfolding in local medical centers and hospitals. Hospitals in the Jazan province and other affected areas saw an increase in the number of patients, many of whom were injured due to infrastructure collapses and traffic accidents. Additionally, the floods caused significant damage to some health centers, further complicating the medical response capacity. Health authorities worked diligently to relocate patients and ensure that critical medical supplies were available for those in urgent need. The aviation sector was also severely affected by the extreme weather conditions. Heavy rains and winds prevented several domestic and international flights from operating normally. Airports in the affected regions, including King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah, experienced delays and cancellations, affecting thousands of passengers. Airlines issued recommendations for travelers to check the status of their flights in advance and avoid unnecessary travel. This situation generated many complaints and concerns, especially among pilgrims heading to Mecca for Umrah. The coastal areas of the Red Sea also face challenges due to the bad weather. Commercial and fishing ports in the provinces of Jazan and Asur reported unusually high waves and dangerous maritime conditions, forcing a temporary halt to operations. This directly impacted the supply chain of fishery products and other essential goods. Local fishermen, in particular, were severely affected, as many could not go to sea, resulting in lost income and food resources. Saudi Arabia has faced a significant challenge due to these extreme weather phenomena. Heavy rains, storms, and floods have tested the country's infrastructure and response capacity. As the government and emergency services continue to deal with the aftermath, the priority remains the safety and well-being of citizens and visitors. The international community is closely watching how Saudi Arabia handles this crisis while the debate continues over the implications of climate change and extreme weather events like these.
ليلة مرعبة.